Here we have our liverwort. This particular collection of liverwort has been growing for several months. And if you look from the side, it's grown considerably tall, several inches. So what I want to show you today is how to replant this liverwort so we can make many more and hopefully allow them to be tested in the future for any scientific purposes. The ones that we're looking at right now are newer than those over there and have been growing for several weeks and have been replanted from ones that originally were overgrown to that amount. In the beginning stages, they grow relatively quickly, and once they seem to grow out and reach the sides, they'll grow up a little bit and won't grow too much more after that. Supposedly, what will happen is they will grow the male and female reproductive plant parts, which these didn't really grow a lot of. This particular bunch right here grew some, but they died. Maybe that means that they're past its life. But they didn't grow tremendously for whatever reason. Maybe it's the climate, maybe it's the nutrients, moisture, daylight. I'm not really sure. So the first step I want to show is essentially how to replant these. I'm going to try to do this while holding on to the phone slash camera with one hand. So if you look at this and you take it out, you'll see what are known as hyphae, which aren't root systems as much as they are structure, and they support it and grab onto the soil and whatever else is around. And if you look in the pot still, there's a lot of soil that isn't touched at all by it. It only goes down a couple inches, really. Unlike any other of the plants that have invaded some of these pots. We got some grass over here, you got some lamb's quarters, some lettuce that I've been picking out. And these things right here, these all have extensive root systems that go all the way down into the pot. So once we have this, it doesn't have a single origin, and you don't have to graft it or anything special like that. What seems to work is simply dropped my camera. Try to prop it up. Essentially just kind of ripping it in half. So you get two halves like that. And then ripping each half again. So you get it into quarters. So if you look at it more closely, you'll have about 1 inch by maybe 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches right here. So on each of those, going back to the original pot, these essentially act like a starter for any other plants. Poke a little hole in the pot, put it in pretty deep so that the surface of the green parts on the liverwort is right, essentially flush with the soil, the top of the soil layer. So if you really look there, there's not really much difference. Like this is right on the edge of the pot. So we can do that again over here. Dig a nice deep hole. Several inches deep. Take the other quarter that we've prepared, put that down in there. So like that. Pretty easy. Pretty simple, nothing. And then just water those after. And that's what I've done with all of these over here. And sometimes they don't catch on really well. Like this one is pretty small. Let's go over here, we can get a better look. It looks about the same as when I originally planted it. It's still alive, but it really hasn't grown anymore. So that one might end up dying, or it just might not end up growing at all. Whereas ones like these, they started to grow out to the sides. Some new liverwort tissue started to grow out, and you can see it's nice and green. It's growing really well. It's more soft and supple, whereas this is more hard and built up and crusty. So when you replant those, you get 4 new ones for every one that you start with, but then maybe 15 to 20% don't really take off very well. I'd say about 20%. So you'll end up getting quite a number of them. And then when they go out to the sides, they'll stop growing outwards anymore and start to grow up. So that seems to be about the time when you want to consider applying something if you're studying how to kill them. So this one right here is almost reaching out to the edge, and a couple others. So if you want to continue planting, for instance here, each one of these is 18. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5, about 90 pots right there. So you can make a couple hundred more out of those if you want to. So hopefully this will work for you.